Hi everyone, welcome back to Little Shop of Nerds. I'm Julia.
Mike, what up?
So this week's hint was Post Office Box 237.
Yes, today we're going to talk about a 1940s movie. Oh, way back in the time machine, y'all. We're going to be talking about Shop Around the Corner. If you ever did see the movie and if it feels familiar to you, well, turns out, if you've seen the 90s hit You Got Mail starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, it's pretty much a remake of Shop Around the Corner.
Yeah, so the thing with Shop Around the Corner is it is in black and white. And because, from the 1940s.
Everything was black and white.
Well, not everything.
Most of them.
So I actually enjoyed this movie because nowadays we're so desensitized to like sex and violence and drugs and stuff like that, alcohol. And
seems today.
Yeah, and in Shop Around the Corner, you had none of that. It was so wholesome, and it was kind of refreshing that we just had regular, everyday stuff without sex or drugs or alcohol or violence. Or there was a little bit of violence, but that was deserved, and we will get to that.
Yeah, and also it teach you how back then the old people met people.
Yes.
It was during the... Because I think my grandma, my dad, or someone... If you have an old person, he'll tell you, you want a girlfriend, something, just go out and meet them.
My grandma with her first husband, they were set up on a blind date.
Yeah.
And then my grandma met my step grandpa at work.
Yes, it's true. That can happen, but nowadays it's just how you know they're actually single. Hell, because like how stuff is nowadays with sexual how you pronounce it? Sexual
identity, I guess.
Well,
gender identity.
Well, it's not gender or that. It's just nowadays
sexual preferences.
Well, that too, but it's mostly nowadays people are in poly relationship, open marriages.
Yeah, so like sexual orientation type stuff.
Yeah, so
yeah, so like those are just a little. You have to be careful with those.
But
then you do have the people that are married and will lie and say that they're single, or they're in a relationship and say that they're single and they're not.
People who are in open or poly, no offense, that's your business. But people who lie and cheat on their spouse, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I agree I definitely agree there. Okay, so the main character, he is actually played by Jimmy Stewart.
Mr. Punch.
And his name was... I need to look it up.
To the Google!
I just literally watched the movie last night, and I cannot even remember the guy's name.
Same here.
So,
to the Google.
That's what I'm on right now.
You know what's kind of funny? Google came out in 1996.
Yeah.
And I was born in 92.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm older than Google.
And I was born in 86. I'm older than Google.
Not fair.
So just to let you guys know, it does have a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. If that tells you anything. Like, because it has an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. You can watch it on MGM with MGM Plus with a subscription, YouTube with a premium primetime subscription, Sling TV with a premium subscription, Amazon Prime TV with a premium, YouTube TV with a premium, Filio with a premium, and then on Google Play Movies and TV, Apple TV, and Fandango at home, you can probably rent them for $3.99.
And also, you're asking why we're doing this movie because, well, one of our subscribers put it in the comment last year of one of our episodes, so we decided, hey, let's do it this year.
And this is our first Christmas episode of this year.
So might as well.
And this takes place during Christmas, and I know that Sammy has been talking about this. She was really excited to talk a little bit about it when I saw her on Friday because we do work at the same job. And she was really excited when we told her that we were going to be watching this movie and talking about it. So, Sammy, this video is for you. We love you. So, okay, so his name was Kralik.
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 And this takes.
And his they're in Budapest, Turkey.
And yet everyone speaks American.
Yeah, and then so it was Alfred Kralik, which is James Stewart.
Wait, Turkey can get snow?
I guess. And then Clara Novak was played by Margaret Sullivan. And Clara is the leading lady in this. So so it starts off with they're talking about it's a leather goods shop in Budapest. And he's a clerk or the top salesman of a shop owned by Mr. Hugo Madushek. Madushek.
Well, what?
Anyways, he's an old guy, and if he looks familiar to you, it's because he played the wizard in The Wizard of Oz.
Not no how.
He looked really familiar to me, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why does he look so familiar? And then I did look it up, and yeah, he played the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. So that makes sense because that came out. I think that came out in 1939, and then this movie came out in 1940.
Yes, and anyways, it opens up with pretty much everything else. Everyone's going to work, waiting for their boss to open the shop, and Jimmy Stewart's talking to one of his coworkers about how, well, pretty much everyone's talking about how everything's, with their work and job, even their delivery boys, a pain in the ass. And Jimmy Stewart's talking to one of his coworkers, talking about he has a pen pal they've been pretty much talking to each other.
Well, don't forget that he was also talking about like the dinner party that he had gone to the night before.
Oh yeah.
At his boss's house, and apparently the wife of the boss was
two-timing.
Yeah, she was trying to get close to Kralik, but he just wasn't reciprocating because not everybody wants to get together with a married woman.
Yeah, and also that whole stereotype that guys like to be touched. Not all of them, no. Some guys are idiots sometimes.
Yeah. So they go into the shop, and Kralik has been at this shop for years. I think they said
9 years.
9 years. He's top salesman. So the boss always looks to him for advice or whatever. So he calls him in. And he's like, "Hey, I got this cigarette box." And when he opened it, it played a song. And Kralik's like, "No one's gonna like that because no one wants to open up." It's like he's like, "Say a guy smokes 20 cigarettes a day, and he opens up the box. He's gonna have to listen to that same song 20 times a day." Or more, depending on if he's smoking with anybody or he's sharing his cigarettes with anybody. And he's just like, no one's going to like this. Well, then this woman comes in looking for a job. This is Clara Novak. She's looking for a job. She can't find it, and she's been having trouble finding a job. They told her that there were no positions open at that time. But she did manage to have one woman buy that box.
Because she said it was a candy box.
She said it was a candy box.
And this is how she did it. She told him, well, we all like to eat sweets. Back then, eating sweets was good, but a thing of diabetes didn't cross the mind of people. But still, telling her if the song keeps playing, it helps her. Hey, stop with the sweets.
Yeah. And she did end up selling it well. Kralik was like, this is dumb. She ended up getting a job there, but then they couldn't sell the rest of them.
Yeah, see, Kralik was right.
Yeah, like 6 months later, and they still had them on clearance. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Kralik was right. So at this point, it is now getting close to Christmas time. It's like 2 weeks before Christmas, and they're, you know, Kralik is still talking to this girl that they've been corresponding with,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 weeks, this time when it popped up, they both had. Okay, so she had come in. I think she was wearing. I think it was a green blouse with yellow dots or something like that.
Well, something like that, yes.
And Kralik was telling her not to wear it anymore because he said it made her look like a show pony.
And pretty much they're just going back.
Yeah, they're fighting a lot.
And every time they fight, I was like, why does this sound familiar?
They already sound like an old married couple.
I know, right?
Are you referring to how you and I fight?
No, we just hate each other.
We do hate each other.
See,
guys. But yet we're here doing podcasts together.
Well, we're friends, but we don't. How can I put it?
We're good friends.
We're just the friends that just dog on each other.
I said we're good friends.
I don't know how you pronounce it, but either way.
We are good friends, Mike.
Help me.
Good friends.
Anyways.
If Mike doesn't show up for next week's episode, you know what happened.
I'm not here. Anyways, besides that, yes, it does sound like they're an old married couple.
Yeah. So, anyways, the boss shows up. He is upset about something because he stopped, relying on Kralik. He stopped inviting Kralik to his house.
And, yeah, everything else, you could tell something's up.
Yeah, so, he wants everybody to stay late to do the window displays, get them ready for Christmas. And the thing is, both Kralik and Clara had made plans for 8:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
They both had plans to meet someone at 8:30, and I think you know where this is going.
Yep.
So, they both tried to get the time off, the night off, to go to this, and the boss wouldn't let them. So you see them, Clara is trying to suck up to him, to Kralik, to get, so she can leave. And then he realizes that the only reason why was because she was lying about everything, about how she felt about him, and she just wanted the night off and everything like that. And he, says no one's leaving. He tries to get time off. Boss wouldn't let him have his time off either. So they're all stuck there making, decorating the Christmas trees.
Yep.
Well, Kralik ends up getting called into the boss's office, and he essentially got fired.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They were angry at each other, but when you tell when he let him go, you could feel like it was remote.
He really didn't want to let him go, but I think there is a reason.
Yes.
I am pretty sure I know what the reason was that they let him go. Oh, we will actually get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and his boss was like, "Hey, all right, let her say it was not ill intent. It was just, just have to go." And they did. He goes back to his locker, takes the carnation that he's supposed to be wearing. The spot. Yeah. This is how, if you haven't met someone, this is how you spot someone during the day.
Yeah, if you haven't seen their faces, or if you don't know what they look like. So she was going to have a book with a carnation as a bookmark.
Yeah.
And he was going to have a carnation in his lapel.
And
because, back in the 40s, all men dressed in suits, basically.
Yeah, well, if you weren't,
Simpler time, you know.
well, if you weren't working on a dock or warehouse, yes.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I wouldn't say simpler time because wasn't the 1940s and 50s really bad for certain type of people during that time?
I'm not gonna get into that, Mike.
Either way, well, don't forget also sexism.
We're not getting into that, Mike.
All right. Either ways, yes, he doesn't want to go because he's been let go. He wants to deal with a woman who's been let go.
Yeah.
And that still bothers me. He's like, well,
But we'll get to that in a minute. So, the boss ends up getting a call from somebody, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna be there." So he lets them all go. Go home for the night. He's like, "Hey, we'll finish these up in the morning." So you see him just kind of like walking around the shop, waiting, and all of a sudden, a detective appears. A private eye comes in, and he is like, "Yeah, hey, your wife has been cheating on you with one of your employees, but it wasn't." The boss thought that Kralik was the one that she was cheating on him with, but no, it was this other guy named Vadas. 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 Vadas.
you can tell, like, he did dress dapper, but you can by the look, you can tell he was.
Well, remember, leading up to this, his wife kept calling and asking him for money, and he kept giving her money.
Oh,
So then
yeah.
Vada showed up with like a wad of cash that he paid the taxi driver with. He showed up with a diamond ring at one point. That was later on.
You could tell he was okay. To all the sensitive ears out there, he was pretty much a how can I say, not a fuckboy.
Well, it says here that he was a two-faced womanizer.
Womanizer. Well, mostly right now he's acting like a gigolo.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, so he's obviously upset about this because they've been together for 22 years. He goes into his office, and then the little errand boy, Peppy, comes in. He answers the phone because the wife called for the boss, and he was like, well, I don't see anybody. And then he goes into the office, and then he catches the boss trying to unalive himself.
Yeah, everyone.
He's going to shoot himself in the head.
And he also, if you guys feel that way, please call someone, get a hold of someone, go to the helpline.
Yeah. But anyways, he was saved by Pepe. So while this is all going on, before Kralik goes to the cafe with his friend Pirovich.
Pirovich kind of reminds me of Groucho Marx.
I love him so much. He was great.
Because, like, his mustache and his big nose and glasses kind of reminds me of Groucho Marx. I was like, that's the ridiculous sound I ever heard. Anyways, but yes, they all go through the cafe. He tells her, hey, just love for me, And it turns out
it was Clara. Clara was the woman that he's been corresponding
with. And he was going to run out. But he decides to go in.
Yeah, he went in and he was talking with her, and he was trying to form some sort of rapport with her because their interactions at the shop have not been great. But she's just like, I'm waiting for someone, leave me alone, and then eventually he does leave her alone. He leaves, and then the next day he gets called into the hospital where the boss was, and he got his job back as manager.
Yes.
So which means he gets to run the shop now.
Yeah, and
with a raise.
Yes, and this is funny. Even after he was done, Pepe goes and the boss thanks him too for stopping him, but Pepe being the dick that he is, he says he wants to be a clerk. He's like, fine.
Yeah, so Pepe was actually, I do believe he was underage.
Yeah.
Because Pepe had asked when they had to stay overnight or stay late to do the window display. He's like, "Do I have to stay because I'm still a minor?" There's no way he was a minor.
That dude looked like he was fucking 24 and had a house payment.
He sounded old.
Yeah.
There's no way that he was under. There was no way that he was underage. Anyways, so now he's a clerk, and he comes in and he calls like a temporary agency or something. He was like, "Hey, send over all your errand boys, and I'll choose which one I want." And they did end up choosing one called Rudy, which Rudy
is a nice guy.
Yeah, he said he was 17. And we'll get to that too. So, Clara ends up not coming into work because she says that she's sick. And she goes, it's because the guy that she was expecting didn't show up. Because she didn't know, because Kralik didn't let her know that he was the one that she was corresponding with, because he knew how much she disliked him.
Yeah.
And so she's, under the weather. She's sick. She comes in. She wanted to talk to the boss, but of course the boss isn't there. And Kralik is like, "I'm manager." He's like, "You can talk to me." And then she faints. And then when she's at home resting, Kralik goes to visit her, and then she gets a letter from her boyfriend.
Yeah, and just explain why he wasn't there.
Yeah, it was basically, he was like, "I was there, and I saw you with another man, and I didn't want to interrupt."
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and, everything else, she starts to feel better. She comes back to work. Then, Crawley had to do one thing for his boss, was to fire Bodice. And they had an uproar and everything, but here's the thing. They didn't give a shit. They knew he was fucking...
Yeah. They pushed him down, and he knocked over the display of all the cigarette boxes that they couldn't sell.
Yep.
And broke all but one of them. And we will actually get to that in a moment, too. So now it's Christmas Eve. And Kralik is like, "Hey, let's make this the best Christmas Eve ever. Let's sell everything in this shop. So when, the boss comes back,
they made a big profit."
Yeah. And they did actually end up making a big profit. I think they made over $9,000. But back in the 1940s, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, now it's like, oh, there's my first month rent.
Yeah, so they did, so it says here, 2 weeks later on Christmas Eve, Motocek and Company achieves record sales. And so what she was going to get, what Clara was going to get for her boyfriend, Kralik, what she was going to get him for Christmas was the only working box, music box, or the cigarette box. But Kralik is like, because she had mentioned that when he came to visit her at home, and he was like, "Why don't you just get him a wallet, so he could have, like your letter on one side and a picture of you on the other, and every time he opens it, he can, see your face, see your letter, or whatever." And she was like, "Yeah, maybe,"
but nah.
But no, she ended up getting the box. Well, Provovich, I think is his name.
Provovich.
Provovich. I'm trying to find his name. Yeah, Krivovich. He was like talking to Clara. He's like, "Oh, I heard that you bought the last cigarette box," and she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm gonna give it to my boyfriend." She's like, "And when I come in on Monday, I might be engaged." Okay, now she hasn't met this guy yet, face to face. Okay, they're already talking about getting engaged. So, which us the watchers know who it is.
Yeah.
So it would have made sense if they had both come in on Monday morning engaged, because they've been corresponding together for like the last 6 months. They've been working together for the last 6 months too. So anyway. Anyway, so he manages to convince
Her-
Primovich to buy a wallet.
Yeah,
instead.
because he said, what was it? Because he buys a gift that is an ugly, like something for his brother-in-law.
No, I think it's his wife's uncle.
Well, either way, right? Like something ugly that's something you would never like. And she's like, oh, that's nice. He's like, no, I hate him. He's like, why would you buy him? He's like, I need to get him something. So I might. In one way, gag gifts. Pretty much, he's giving him a gag gift.
And so she does end up buying the wallet instead. And when he managed to convince her to get the wallet, he went into Krolek's office, opened the door, and said, "You're getting that wallet." And then he shuts the door and walks out.
Yeah.
And so they are left alone. Krolek and Clara are left alone after everybody else has left. Because, see, the boss shows up and sees the sale. And he is like, this is great. And then that's when they realize it was like over $9,000 or whatever.
I think it was 1,000. Either
No,
way.
it was like 9,000 something.
Well, either way, they made a huge record profit.
Yeah. Record sales.
That boss is so happy. He's glad.
Gives everybody their bonus. And then he sees the new kid, Rudy, and he was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Rudy. I'm new." And he's like, "Oh." And he pulls out his wallet and gives him money from the wallet. And Pepe is standing there next to him, and he takes the note, and it's like too much, and he hands it back to him.
He's like, well dang, bro.
Yeah.
But everyone gets going,
The boss is trying to find someone to spend Christmas with.
Yes. And pretty much everyone has plans with someone else.
Except for Rudy.
Because his parents, no one's there. And he tells them what they're going to have, and he's like, okay, that's nice, that's sweet.
Yeah, and then they go off, and that leaves Clara and Krolek by themselves in the shop. And he shows her, he sees the wallet. He goes, "Oh, it's a nice wallet." And then she's like, he shows her the necklace that he got for his girlfriend. And he asks her to try it on because he wanted to see what it would look like on a woman.
Yes. And pretty much, he makes a story that he showed up during the sale.
Well, don't forget, before that, he said, or she basically confessed her feelings for him. She said that she was in love with him, and but nothing happened. Like, I guess he just wasn't interested, or didn't show any interest or anything like that. And so then he makes up the story about her fiance coming this year.
Yeah.
Or see him. And he says he's very ugly, he's fat, he doesn't have a job, that type of thing, stop talking over me. And she's like, she's reciting a poem, or a line from a poem that he had put in the letter, and she was like, "Oh, that's stolen."
Yep.
And bye guys. My roommate's leaving with his son. Bye guys.
Bye.
So he's just. He reads off this, he recites it after she did.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, it was stolen." And then they end up, he grabs her.
Okay.
Because she's trying to leave.
Yep. And now I can see the hashtag, what's it called?
She was trying to leave because I don't remember what was said, but it kind of freaked her out a little bit.
Yeah,
and she's trying to leave, and he grabbed her to keep her from leaving. So he wasn't like being aggressive or anything, because if she wanted to leave, he would have let her leave.
Yeah.
Let her leave. But she stopped, and he took out the carnation that he was meant to wear,
Yep.
and he put in his lapel, and then he was like, that was I'm the one.
Yeah, and pretty much he reveals the big secret, telling her, and they love each other. Then the movie
ends with a kiss. They kiss, and the movie ends. So it was a very nice, wholesome movie.
Yes, I give it. Now, before I think this is one of the wholesome movies nowadays that you don't get a lot nowadays. I tell you, nowadays, like they try to do something wholesome, but it's not that. How can I
Yeah,
say?
like this movie, it was really refreshing to see something other than what we normally see on TV and in the movies and stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's a break from hey, now let's take a break from all the fucking predators out there and drugs, or hell, even from the Super Saiyans. Anyways, besides that, yes, it was a nice break to get away from it all. It's a nice Christmas story. I give it the movie a 10 out of 10.
oh, I definitely give it a 10 out of 10. So before we go, I had said that it had a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, the critics give it a 99%, and that's out of 96 reviews. And then out of 10,000 plus reviews, the audience has given it a 91%. So it is a very good movie. And I mean, it is in black and white.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys can look past the black and white for one movie, an hour and a half. It's an hour and 38 minutes long. I'm sure y'all can deal with black and white for an hour and a half. Okay, it's not gonna kill you. If you can sit there and watch The Wizard of Oz and watch like the first half hour in black and white, you can watch an hour and 38 minute movie. In
You
black
know,
and white.
if you look at it, like with the Wizard of Oz, how it's black and white for the first half, color for the second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that? It's like real world and fantasy world.
Did you know that when Gone with the Wind came out first, it was in black and white?
Right? Clearly, I don't give a damn.
And then, which we will have to do a review on that movie someday.
Uh-huh.
That 4 hour, well, it's a 3 hour and 55 minute movie, and let me tell you, it's one of my favorites. Because
Yeah.
Clark Gable is hot.
Yeah, and also one of those movies that people think that it's really controversial.
It is very controversial, but I mean,
It can't be worse than Song of the South.
for the time that it was set in, I mean, we'll actually, talk about some of that stuff when we talk about Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, and it could be worse. It could be the crows from Dumbo.
Yeah, so,
Those were racist.
yeah, so, anyways, both Mike and I give it a 10 out of 10, because this was a great movie. I liked it more than I expected I would, to be honest.
Well, at least people know it's a good movie. It was was it IGN or NGI, whatever it's called?
IGN,
Yeah, they'll give it a 5.
probably,
Big-
and them.
Fucking those guys are idiots.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna give you guys next week's hint, which is the shitter's full. So, hopefully next week I'll have I did order an ugly Christmas sweater, so hopefully next week I'll have it, and I will be wearing it for the rest of the season.
Yep.
For the other 3 movies that we will be doing.
Yep.
So, look forward to seeing me in my ugly Christmas sweater whenever it comes in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
Yep.
remember, like, subscribe, comment below. If there's any Christmas movies you want us to do for next year, put it in the comments below, and we'll check it out for next year. If there's anything that's not Christmas related that you would like us to review, put that in the comments below too, because we are starting to run out of ideas. So we need you guys' help with this.
Bye.
Bye.